From starting a business to the financial impacts of selling a home. It is Money Monday, a segment, of course, here at 4 where we talk about easy ways to navigate all of our financial issues. Here to help us out, as always, is financial expert Paul Hood from Hood CPAs. It's always good to see you.
You too, Shannon.
Not hanging over at the PGA?
No, I think I'm going to skip that.
Okay.
Too many people.
There's a lot over there, yeah. We have some questions for you today. Sue has our first one, and she says, my daughter and I are looking to start a business together. We don't expect to make a net income more than $20,000, at least for a few years. What would be the best entity to set up as?
Well, when you have, Shannon, when you have more than one owner that aren't married, there's a limit to what type of entities you can have. So you either got to be taxed as a partnership or a corporation. So what most people will do, and what they should do, is set up an LLC, which is a state level entity. People think an LLC is like what they file for the IRS. The IRS doesn't recognize the LLC as a taxable entity. So you'd set up an LLC and have it taxed as either a partnership or a S Corp or something like that. Probably a partnership, because that low of income, it doesn't benefit them to be an S Corp.
Interesting, good to know.
Yeah.
Mary has our second question for you today. She says, I sold my home and netted $281,000 from the sale. How will this reflect on my 2022 taxes? Will I owe anything?
So what happens is when you go into close, the rule is if it was your primary residence for 2 of the last 5 years, you can exclude up to $250,000 worth of gain. Now what Mary needs to check is just because she netted 281 doesn't mean that's her gain. People think, well, when I pay off my loan, the difference is my gain. No, it's what you originally paid for it versus what you sell it for, less costs on both sides. The challenge is if somebody's refinanced or whatever, then they could get less than what's taxable. So if as long as it was her primary residence for 2 of the last 5 years, she won't have to pay any taxes on it. Now here's the thing that people need to know. Even if it was her primary residence for 6 months, she can exclude a large portion of the gain, because what they do is they prorate that $250,000 exclusion, so for whatever period it was her primary residence.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I think we have a final question for you today from Brad. He says, I'm using my personal money to buy tools and equipment for my new company. Can I classify draws to the company as short-term loans?
Yeah, it depends on, Brad, we need to know what kind of entity is it. Is it an LLC that's a disregarded entity? Is it a partnership? Is it a corporation? But generally, as long as it's not a C Corp, it doesn't really matter whether you call it draws or you call it loans. It's just the owner putting money into the business and then buying things. He's doing it right, though. It's better to put money into the company, buy the tools and things inside the company, than to buy the tools with your personal money, because especially if he's an LLC or some other entity, a lot of attorneys get kind of excited that if I'm spending money personally for my entity and then the entity gets sued, the other side can say, well, it's not really a true entity because you're using your personal money. So he's fine.
Okay, good to know. Well, Paul, thank you so much as always. Appreciate seeing you. Have a good week.
You too.
Hope so. And it's not really a question, that's more have a good week.
There you go.
Oh my goodness. If you have any financial questions for Paul, just send those into Money Monday at griffin.news.